Original story. Last week, I made a big batch of homemade pasta and saved the leftovers in the fridge. I even labeled the container with my name so it was clear it was mine. I was looking forward to having it for lunch a few days later, but when I opened the fridge, the container was completely empty. I asked my friend if she had eaten it, and she admitted she did without asking me first. When I told her I was disappointed and asked if she could at least pay me back or buy me new food, she acted like I was being unreasonable. She shrugged and said, "I was hungry and you never eat leftovers anyway." I explained that just because I don't always eat my leftovers right away doesn't mean she gets to take them without permission. She got defensive and accused me of being too dramatic and controlling. I'm not asking for much, just basic respect for other people's belongings, especially when it comes to food. But apparently, that's a lot to expect from some people. Top comment. Say how much you are looking forward to her next leftovers. She should be sure and put her name on them so you know they are communal property. OP replied, "Yep, what's hers is mine now." Someone replied, "Don't even wait for it to be leftover. Just grab her plate when she's making it, and just say, 'Don't be so dramatic, you're already plating food. Just make another plate.'" Someone suggested, "Get a lockbox for your fridge, or consider a mini fridge in your locked room. Neither are terribly expensive, you might find cheaper ones secondhand, and it'll still be less expensive than her eating your food all the time." Also, if you live near a university with dorms, find out when move-out day is this fall. I would be willing to bet there will be some unwanted mini fridges by the dumpsters. Or, Habit for Humanity sells good quality items they can't use in their homes. Now to the update. A little while ago, my friend and I had a situation where she ate my leftover pasta, and it was clearly labeled, and I had been saving it. I brought it up, and she apologized. But I could tell she didn't totally get why I was that annoyed, and I think she also faked that apology. I didn't want to keep having the same conversation, so instead of turning it into a bigger deal, I just ordered myself a mini fridge for my room. That way I could keep my food separate and not have to worry about it again. When it arrived, she looked at me like I was wild. She was like, "You really bought a whole fridge over some pasta?" I just shrugged and said, "Yeah, I'd rather just avoid the issue completely." We're totally fine now, no tension at all, but she still makes little comments here and there like, "It wasn't that serious," or "You're so extra for that." I don't take it personally, but it's funny how doing something to avoid conflict somehow made me the dramatic one. At the end of the day, it's my food, my money, and my fridge. I'd rather be a little extra than hungry. I appreciate about the mini fridge recommendations. Top comment. Conflict avoidance is a life skill. Good for you. Another said, "Thieves never like being outed. Removing the temptation is smart." OP replied, "Facts. That's why I'm protecting what's mine now." Hello Reddit. First-time writer, long-time listener. I am writing this because I am needing some advice for my situation. My fiancé, now husband, and I got engaged in June of 2024. During this time, I tried on a few dresses, and eventually, a local boutique reached out via Facebook, noting they had dresses within my price range. Reviews looked great, and I set up an appointment. My mom, sister, and I found my dress, December 2024. It was a ball gown, not something I would normally go for, with some textured flowers on the fabric. The gal took my measurements and took notes of the changes I wanted to the dress: a sleeveless dress, buttons down the train, and pockets. She got my information such as the wedding date, August 2025, and what my budget was. I was told that it would be plenty of time, January when dress was ordered, and should be ready for pickup in April. She checked me out for $1,000 and emailed the receipt. Mid-March, my family received unfortunate health news, and my fiancé and I decided to have a wedding closer location and moved the wedding date to July for my family so this guest could attend our wedding. At the end of March, I followed up with her over the phone to see when my pickup date would be. At this time, she told me she did not have a date yet, but would reach out when it was ready to be picked up. I waited all of April. Nothing was heard from her. As a just in case, I went online and ordered a dress from Still White, dress number 2. Dress number 2 came within the week and almost fit like a glove. It needed some hemming and some adjustments with the straps. Still no word from the bridal shop. May came and still no word from the shop. I went to call and the shop listing online stated it was permanently closed. After freaking out a bit, I reached out to my bank to dispute the charge to my card. After reaching out to the owner, the bank stated due to, at the bottom of the receipt, it says no refunds or returns. My dispute was denied. The shop owner then stated it would take up to 26 weeks, making the dress ready on June 8, 2025. I reached out again to her and the manufacturer, and was met with no answers of when the dress would be ready. She later stated that maybe it would be done by August and would not be giving me a refund on the dress. After reaching out for a consultation with a lawyer, it was recommended to write a letter to the seller stating if the dress was not done by a specific date, legal action would be taken. I wrote the letter and had the date set for August 1st. Turns out my second dress was perfect for me, and I love it more than the first. My wedding was beautiful. On July 31st, I received a text that the dress was ready and I could pick it up or have it mailed. I asked her to mail it, and even now I do not have the dress or a tracking number. At this point, I am wondering if taking her to small claims court is something I should do. The dress was not done in a timely manner, service was terrible, and I still do not have the dress. What should I do? Top comment reads, "This same exact thing happened to me at David's bridal. So sorry you had to deal with this. Definitely take this to small claims. Does it say anywhere in the contract that they are not responsible for late orders? If they gave you a date and it was not completed by that date, your wedding passed, they failed to provide a service." OP responded, "I didn't have a contract, unfortunately." Someone replied, "I would reach out to the dressmaker and ask when they sent the dress. I find it incredibly sketchy she messaged you a day before your deadline. I would bet money she sat on the dress for a while to be petty." Another asked, "I'm at work. Isn't this her work? Is she doing this as a side gig?" OP replied, "She had closed her shop. I think maybe she started a new job." Do you think OP got scammed by the bridal shop? Comment below. I moved out of my parents' house last year. My parents have kept my childhood bedroom as it is, with all of my old toys, belongings, my clothes, etc., because I go home to visit most weekends and help around the house. This includes some collector edition Barbies and dolls that my dad bought for me when I was younger. I keep them in their boxes, stored on a high shelf. There's about 10 dolls, some of which are collector's items now because of their age and condition. I haven't thought about selling them because I just like keeping things my dad bought for me. I guess I have attachment to them because he worked in the US while we lived in Canada without him, and toys were given when he visited us. This past weekend, I was visiting my mom, and she brought some of her friends over. One particularly entitled friend, Jane, brought her granddaughter, a 5-year-old. I told my mom not to let the child up in my room after a bad experience with kids taking my belongings and breaking them. I stayed downstairs and worked in a room. Eventually, I heard Jane taking the granddaughter upstairs. I then heard them opening doors and talking. I didn't go upstairs until I heard her say something about dolls. I went upstairs and asked them both to leave my room, but Jane was already in my closet at this point and pointing at the dolls. Of course, they pointed at the boxes of Barbies. She pulled one off, showed it to her granddaughter, and told me she wanted to play with it. When I told her, "No, it's in the box for a reason," she seemed irritated at me and handed the box back to me. She left my room, and the child started crying and saying she wanted to play with dolls. I went through my things, found some of the dolls that I'd opened as a kid and played with and offered them to her downstairs, but she kept insisting on the princess doll. They didn't go back upstairs, but it left me a little anxious now about my room. My mom is telling me to put a lock on my door because Jane visits often and tends to wander around, but I'm baffled that she would go into someone's house and think it's okay to touch their stuff. I'm from a South Asian background, BTW, and this tends to be the attitude of some older women. They don't understand collectible culture or sentimentality to gifts. They think they're able to do whatever they want, open whatever they want. Edit for extra info. We installed a lock this morning on my bedroom door, and my mom warned her friend not to go in my room in the future. I live in a very small condo. It isn't big enough for me to bring all of my belongings there. I've left a lot of clothing and personal items with my parents. Top comment. Get a lock on your door and start locking it every time you leave the house. Another remarked, anyone brings it up go on about how impolite they were and what is the younger generation coming to. Be super serious about it. Use all the boomer talk about it. 10 to 1 it'll get back to the grandma who'll be furious that curious young child is now taken as child doesn't know how to behave properly. Another suggested, start displaying massive S toys around your room. Bet she'll think twice about taking a kid in there then. OP replied, LMAO. I'd love to do that, but I'm pretty sure my parents would be pretty uncomfortable with it too. What do you think of this story? I personally don't understand people who feel entitled to things not in their own house.